Hey everyone, EIGA here. It's been a while since I updated you guys on my daily driver build in the T1. Last time I showed you guys my partially liquid cooled build featuring a pneumatic tubing custom loop for the CPU and stock cooling on the NVIDIA RTX 4090 GPU. In this video I'm going for full air cooling, with one of the most optimized setups you can currently build in the FormT1. We'll be looking at some interesting mods from yours truly, as well as a first look at the upcoming official travel kit, which perfectly integrates the NVIDIA Founders Edition 40 Series 80 and 90 class GPUs into the case. So let's get right into it and begin by taking a look at the CPU side of the case. If you follow the small form factor Discord scene at all, then you already know all about what I'm about to show you. It's by far the optimal way to cool a CPU in the FormT1, and it has been tried and tested in many successful builds. To cool my AMD Ryzen 7950 X3D, I'm using the AXP90 X47 from Thermalright. But importantly, it's the full copper version, which can handle a bit more heat compared to the base model. The stock fan is replaced with the Noctua NFA9 for improved thermal and acoustic performance, and on top of that we have one of Noctua's foam ducts. These were originally designed for Noctua's own L9 low-profile cooler, but I've designed some 3D printed pegs to retrofit them to the Thermalright cooler instead. The T1 case itself is set up in the 3-slot mode, which consequently is also the reason for the fan duct. It closes the gap to the side panel and pulls cold air from the outside, avoiding recirculation of the already warm air inside. We could have the case set up in 3.25 slot mode like last time, which would put the fan right up against the side panel without the need for a fan duct, but unfortunately when we have a fan up against the panel like that, it means we'll be dealing with noise caused by air turbulence. As exhaust fans, I have the Fantex T30s, and right below that there's this new mod that I've developed which I call the exhaust Shroud, but more on that just a bit later. The motherboard I'm using is the Asus B650EI from last time. It's been solid, but my copy is plagued by coil whine when the CPU is idle. This annoyance is fixable by the weirdest trick out there, which is running open RGB in the background. There's no love lost between me and the Asus board, but it gets the job done. The power supply, on the other hand, is the trusty Corsair SF750, which has been with me through many builds and a lot of abuse, and has not failed me since. In my previous build, I attached a temperature probe to the backside of the PSU to get thermal readings, and I left that in there just to see if my changes have any impact. It's also worth mentioning that I am using two of the included 5mm standoffs to maintain a gap between the PSU and the flow-through fan of the 4090. This puts the PSU right up against the side panel, but fortunately there's no fan turbulence noise introduced by doing this. Let's switch over to the GPU side, where we have the 4090 FE taking up roughly half of the available volume. And the big thing to talk about here is the travel kit. Ever since NVIDIA started adding support holes at the rear of Founders Edition cards, I was intrigued, and this compelled me to design the original anti-sag bracket for the T1 1.1 and then later for the 2.1, which I've even had CNC machined in aluminium to match the aesthetics of the case. So today we have the travel kit, the official anti-sag solution that is amazingly over-engineered in the best way possible. It's made by the original designer of the FormT1, and it takes the anti-sag idea to the next level. There's a bracket, of course, height adjustable. We'll get to why that is in just a second, but there's also a full IO shield replacement for the 4090 and 4080 FE cards that perfectly integrates into the back panel of the case. Just how insane is that? People joke that the T1 is a case built around the GPU, and this couldn't be truer now. I've never seen anything like it. I'd have zero worries tossing the T1 in a backpack or even carrying it by this handle that's included in the Essential Pack. Maybe the handle should be part of the travel kit as well. I think it would make a lot of sense. A favorite mod of mine from the T1 1.1 days was using the low or high, depending on how you look at it, position for the riser. This creates additional room for the GPU power connector, and consequently that means less strain on the cable and less chance of running into issues. And that's where the height adjustability of the travel kit comes into play. The bracket and IO plate are both height adjustable in two positions. So naturally, if I have the option for a better mounting position, I'm going to use it. The only caveats here are that the riser height mod requires two things. First, one of the necessary riser holes needed is shared with a motherboard standoff on the opposite side. At minimum, what you need here is a female to female M3 6mm standoff. And then you need to figure out a way to thread a screw through the riser and riser bar into the motherboard standoff itself. The second thing you need, and this is a bit unfortunate, is a different riser. The stock light blue riser that came with my T1 won't fit in this position due to interference with the riser bar. That's really unfortunate, as it would have been great to just stick with what already comes in the box. I ended up using my LinkUp Gen 4 riser, which has no trouble clearing the riser bar. But if you do go for this mod, I find it's the superior configuration and it looks better too. Circling back to the new I/O shield included in the travel kit, I should mention that in order to install it, a semi-invasive procedure is needed on the GPU. The stock I/O shield has 6 Torx screws, but there's also an additional screw holding it in place that's hidden out of view by the PCB backplate and cover. I recommend watching NVIDIA's official disassembly guide for this, which I'll have linked in the video description below. Okay, so with the setup mostly covered, let's talk a bit about why I decided in favor of air cooling. Can the 7950 X3D really be cooled by a low-profile cooler measuring just 47mm in height? The answer is yes. Not only does it adequately cool the CPU, it arguably performs better than my previous expensive and complicated custom loop solution. The Thermalright copper cooler and the two Fantex T30 fans are an incredibly efficient combo, and I prefer this setup even compared to full custom loops. Let me explain why. Cost and ease of installation is an obvious reason, but there's other factors as well, like pump noise. Both serious water cooling pumps I have used so far, a D5 and a DDC, produce audible hum, which I find very unpleasant, even when turned down to really low RPM. And then we have also the issue of temperatures. High-end custom loops in the T1 running one slim radiator or even two in such a compact space means that the coolant temperature has to run with a high delta over ambient, potentially running over 60 degrees Celsius, which is the maximum pumps are usually rated for. The GPU temperatures may be fine, but CPUs have worse thermal transfer due to their integrated heat spreader designs. And when the coolant is in the 50 degrees Celsius range, the thermal transfer is very inefficient, leading to poor temps and reduced clock speeds. Of course, fan speeds can be increased to keep coolant temperatures in check, but one of the primary selling points of a water cooling build is quieter operation. So in many ways, air cooling has a lot of advantages that may not seem immediately obvious. And one such advantage is that GPU heat doesn't impact CPU temperatures quite as much. The 30 series and 40 series FE coolers also exhaust quite a bit of hot air through the I/O vents, and any benefit that brings is thrown away if we decide to install a GPU water block. So I really wanted to explore air cooling and see just how well the optimal air cooling setup in the T1 performs when paired with top tier hardware, and could this setup be pushed even further? So let's take a look at how the new air cooling setup compares to my old pneumatic tubing CPU custom loop. The test here is a 20-minute soak in Dogtown from the Phantom Liberty expansion for Cyberpunk 2077. The tests are not noise normalized, but rather they're running fixed fan speeds that I generally find acceptable noise-wise. Normally I use fan control to automate my fan speeds within fixed RPM ranges, and that generally ends up being a bit less aggressive than the fixed speeds I've chosen for the tests. I think that the numbers speak for themselves. The air cooling setup is considerably more efficient at pulling hot air out of the case, and quite dramatically so. So what could we do to improve this even further? There's two things I wanted to try out now that I have my own 3D printer. First, I wanted to see if I could optimize exhaust, in particular ducting hot air away from the CPU. And secondly, I wanted to try my hand at designing custom side panels. Let's start with what I call the exhaust shroud. It replaces the stock fan brackets with a single piece, featuring circular cutouts for the fans and 4 angled scoops, which have the role of directing hot air towards the exhaust fans. If we take a look at the scoop directly above the motherboard, this one pretty much creates a seal around the fin stack of the cooler and isolates the area so that negative pressure is created by the fan sitting directly above. There are also some quality of life improvements as well. The whole thing is much easier to install, and the fans are screwed in from the top with M3 screws that go into brass threaded inserts. So let's take a look at CPU temps with the exhaust shroud installed. Running the Dogtown soak test again, we're consistently getting lower temperatures by almost 2 degrees. The same test, but this time looking at the GPU, we're unfortunately not getting the same gains, and the temperatures seem to be more or less identical between the two test configurations. Taking a look on the motherboard side again, we do however notice lower RAM module temperatures being reported, in line with the improvement we've seen in CPU temperatures. I did another set of tests, this time in Starfield's Aquila City, which pushes higher CPU temperatures on my 7950 X3D CPU. Again, we get consistently lower temperatures, but the gap narrows to within 1 degree. Still, a gain is a gain, and it's nice seeing my hypothesis verified. I would have liked to see a bigger impact here, but if anything, this shows just how efficient the air cooling setup in the T1 already is, and it seems we're running into diminishing returns. So what about those custom side panels? Now, custom 3D printed side panels are somewhat of a questionable thing to even attempt, but my Voron printer has plenty of room to print full-sized panels for the T1, and I like the challenge, so I said, why not, let's do it for science. I had a trifecta of goals with designing these. Improve thermals, improve the noise profile by reducing turbulence, and lastly, make something that looks cool. The design itself is relatively simple. The panels were designed solid, and the mesh part is actually done in the 3D printing slicing software, which allowed me to test different types of infill patterns as ventilation holes. One neat design detail are these built-in breakaway supports, which made it possible to have the custom panels work as drop-in replacements for the stock ones, and also made it possible to have them printed with the outside face placed down on the printer bed, resulting in this nice textured surface. The panels are printed in ASA filament, which is extremely resistant to high temperatures, but PETG would have been sufficient for this use case as well. Now, of course, a big downside of plastic panels is that they flex a lot, and there's no avoiding that. The T1 was designed with thin but extremely rigid aluminum or steel panels in mind. Nevertheless, I optimized the panels in such a way that bulging is kept to a minimum. Once installed, they sit surprisingly flat, provided you don't have anything poking out like PSU cables or the PSU itself, which can easily end up being misaligned during installation. So the first set of panels I printed used cubic infill at a relatively low density. My assumption was that bigger holes means better cooling and less turbulence compared to the small holes of the stock panels. Turbulence from the 4090 rear fan is perhaps my only remaining gripe with this setup. It's not particularly loud, but there's still this somewhat high-pitched whine that I find very annoying, and it happens throughout the RPM range. I had high hopes for my custom panels, but I ended up making it much worse. Take a listen. Somehow the bigger holes make the turbulence noise even worse. So I went back to the drawing board and I printed a set of panels that use the gyroid infill instead, with a higher density resulting in smaller holes. And to my surprise, I finally had something that nearly eliminated all the turbulence noise on the 4090. The gyroid infill itself is very trippy, and it kind of makes the panel feel a bit like fabric or a very flexible mesh. I'm not sure I like the look, but I'm impressed by the difference it makes when it comes to the sound profile. Let's bring up the temperature chart again, this time with the gyroid panels added into the mix. CPU temperatures seem to be identical this time around, which shows that my custom panels are performing identically to the stock aluminum ones. If we take a look at GPU temperatures, it seems we are getting a minor improvement of about 1 degree. I'm not too surprised by these results, as hole size would need to increase quite a bit in order to make a more breathable panel. But I think the fact that they eliminate turbulence noise makes them somewhat compelling to use. By the way, the designs for all the 3D printable parts I've shown in this video are already up on my printables page, and I'll have links to everything in the description. So to recap, what's my definitive recommended setup for the T1? I'm going to put everything up on screen so that it's a bit easier to follow. If I were to make any changes, what would those be? Cooling wise, I think this setup is as good as it gets, and I wholeheartedly recommend this setup compared to pretty much any other setup out there. I recommend the travel kit both for securing the 4090 and also for a bit of extra fun assembling everything, if you're even a bit interested in tinkering. The travel kit itself should be already available by the time this video is published. There will also be a travel kit version for the Asus ProArt 40 series cards, which to my knowledge are the only AIB cards that feature similar support holes like the ones found on the Founders Edition cards from Nvidia. I would also recommend choosing a Ryzen 7800 X3D instead of my overkill 7950 X3D. I've been using Process Lasso to tinker with assigning background apps to the frequency CCD of this CPU, but the fact is it offers very little over a 7800 X3D, no matter how you try to squeeze it. Most of the non-gaming workloads I have to throw at it are GPU accelerated anyway, and I don't play any competitive games that would benefit from being assigned to the frequency CCD. As such, there's not much that the 7950 X3D can really do better. The ASUS motherboard is also something I can't really recommend, primarily due to coil whine. I think I would instead prefer the B650i Aorus Ultra from Gigabyte for those extra M.2 storage slots on the front. I have actually ended up removing the backside drive I had installed on my ASUS board because temperatures were just too high for my liking. And lastly, a new updated SFX power supply from Corsair is something I would really like to see. There are reports a true SFX 1000 model is coming soon, and I am very much looking forward to that. That's about it for this one. I hope you guys found this video as interesting to watch as it was for me to make it. And as always, I'm looking forward to reading your comments or suggestions down below. Bye for now.